Hi parents. It feels like forever since I've seen all of you and your kids. I just thought I'd send a little video message just to touch base, so you know as a school where we are, and what's happening right now. I'm emailing a survey out today. If you could possibly please just fill it in and send it back to me by Wednesday. You just click the submit form and it will submit. For those of you who haven't done an online survey before. All right, so that's just going to give us a general overview of how you and your kids are coping. Have you been financially affected by this lockdown? And just to get some feedback back from you with going forward. Right, I just want to explain to you just a little bit about what's going on. We fall under the DSD and not the EDO, which is the Education Department, because we are an early childhood development centre. Our grade R's kind of sit in between both, because some schools that have a pre-primary attached to their school, the grade R becomes part of their foundation phase. Where we start on 000 to grade R, so we fall under the DSD, which is the Social Development Department. So we're waiting for definite dates from them, which will then get gazetted and by our president and let us know. So I know there's lots of dates being thrown around at the moment, but nothing has been confirmed until that time. We're just going to have to carry on with what we're doing in our homes, bring online teaching to you. Okay, so I start to explain before we go back to school, and when we do get that date, we cannot go back to school until we have got all our protocols and procedures and policies and everything in place. Your kids are obviously extremely important to us, and that's one thing about our school, is that we're all about your kids and about their well-being, and not just about getting back to the normal thing and putting them in any sort of risk. So for those parents that have been following on the educational chats and that, just bear with me. But for those of you that don't know, for a school like Mount Croy Primary, there is a huge outlay for us to outlay all the expenses before we go back. We fall into a quintile, which unfortunately our Department of Education will not be giving us anything. So we have to literally, all the expenses are going to have to be on our cost. I did hear that apparently they would be giving us masks, but I'm sure your kids have all got their own masks, or by that stage they will have some sort of protective covering, so that doesn't really help us. But just to let you know that before the kids do come back to school, we've obviously got to again train our staff, our cleaning staff, and how to clean properly. Even though we think that they do clean properly, we've got to ensure that they are following the correct steps with the correct color-coded cloths and the correct sanitizing sprays. They're not just cutting corners. We've got to make sure that we bring outside sanitized foggers to come in to spray the school, which will have to continue on an occurring basis. I'm sure you know that when the kids are going outside and they're touching the jungle gyms, the walls, everything, we can't just expect our cleaning staff to be wiping down every day. We're going to have to bring those foggers in, which is obviously at a huge expense that we don't normally incur. And then we'll have to have a quarantine area that is separate from the school. So whether it's in a tent form or we, I don't know, but we'll have to have some sort of area which is a quarantine and isolation area where your kids will be tested in the morning. The staff members that are in there will need to all be at least level 1 trained for first aid and trauma trained, so that they're able to look after your kids. They obviously will be put at the most risk being in that area. And the kids, their temperature will be taken, and then if anything above, their temperature is anything above 37.4, they will need to go into the isolation area, which then you will need to come and collect them from. All those staff members will have to have special protective gear, which will obviously be another outlay for the school. They also, the staff members that are have any sort of physical contact with the children, even though we're not supposed to. If your child falls from the jungle gym, we're not going to expect them to get up on their own and walk into the first aid partitioned off area. Those staff members will have to have protective gear on, and they will have to have all the necessary training to look after kids. That protective gear will have to obviously be specially cleaned, or it will have to be thrown away, and new protective gear will have to be replaced. And then in the classrooms, I'm sure you've heard that at a table of 4, there can be a maximum of 2 kids sitting. So we'll either have to buy some more tables and desks. Otherwise, the other option is to put perspex screening up through the tables, and in certain parts of the classrooms, the kids can play in isolated areas. We're also going to have to outlay a lot for new stationery, because every child will have to receive their own stationery pack. We can't have kids using the same stationery. Also, we'll have to increase our educational games and resources that we have in order for children to be basically using that on the specific day for that activity without using each other's. So yeah, we're going to have to change a lot of policies at the school when it comes to certain procedures. So as you can see, that that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I'm sure you can see that before we even think about returning to school, there is a lot we have to do, and it's going to be to a big expense to the school. All right. In the survey, you'll see a little part about online teaching and how you're finding it. Please give us your feedback there. We have been in staff meetings on Zoom with the teachers of different grades, and each grade is going to formulate a plan going forward for their specific grade, which works best. Some of the older grades, we're thinking about perhaps making a resource pack which can get collected, which will be a once-off pack, which will include basically the teaching resources that we would use in order for your kids to be able to do the online lessons with their resources there in front of them, which will then help you that you don't have to make the resources by hand or get a printer or get them printed. So that's our plan moving forward, but we will definitely let you know all about that this week. Okay, then I quickly just want to talk about fees. And I understand that right now, as much as me with a small business, there is loads of pressure and people are under extreme pressure right now. And obviously we understand that putting food on your table for you and your family and keeping the well-being of your family going is the most important. Then I would just like to appeal to the parents that, if you're able to continue supporting our school, in order for us to keep our doors open, we need to keep our staff. We need to be paying the expenses that we incur on a monthly basis when it comes to just the general payment of our building, of upkeep. So we've obviously also got a lot to pay. I have been sent a lot of email requests from parents who have just asked if they can just take their kids out of the school for now because they're not receiving really any educational value and their parents are having to do all the work. Believe me, we're all in the same boat. I'm online teaching, I'm doing the admin for the school to get ready for 2021 actually, and then I've got 2 of my kids online schooling. So I understand the pressure and I understand where you're coming from, but in order for us to keep our doors open so that there is a school for your children, when this virus has subsided and we're able to go back to school, if you would like a school for your kids to go back to, it's very important that we get some fees. Please, I am available for those parents that are struggling. Please email me. Just not paying the fees obviously causes a lot of pressure on me because I'm not sure if I must not pay my expenses. I must perhaps look at downgrading my classes and letting some of my staff members go, which is obviously a heartbreaking thought for me and obviously for my staff. I've had conversations with them. It puts us in a very difficult position, and I understand that it's my business, and so I must just do what I need to do. But if those people that know me well enough know that I'm all about heart, and I will give before I give to myself. So I just don't want to get to the point where I have to make the decision just to tell staff that I can no longer offer them employment at Mount Korepi Primary, or in the end of the day having to close our doors, which will obviously be devastating in every way. So if you are battling to pay fees, or there is a reason why you feel that you shouldn't be paying fees, please just communicate with me, phone me, WhatsApp me, email me, please. I need to know where parents are, so I know what fees are coming in and what business decisions I need to make. For those parents that are thinking along the lines of perhaps removing your kids from the school, obviously, in order for that to happen, I would hope that there is some really sound, valid reason for you to do that, and not just because you don't feel that you need to pay school fees because now everything's online and your kids are getting no educational value. Because, yeah, obviously that's obviously not something that I want to hear. But if you are deciding for some sort of medical reason, or for some other reason that you decided to remove your kid from the school, please just remember that there is a terms notice that will need to be given. So it would be your term 2 notice, which would be April, May, June. So you would need to pay until the end of June. And then if for some reason schools we are able to open in July, say for instance, you obviously can't just expect to come back and your child will have a place. For me, in order to keep the school going, and for my teachers, I will need to do everything I possibly can to put the bums on seats. So I will be offering those places to other children who perhaps are starting with us in 2021 or have been on our waiting list. And then for next year, you will then have to, with our other applicants, you'll have to go through the application process of re-enrolling your child into school. And that's just obviously for us, that we can't just leave spaces available for your children for when they're ready to come back. But also I am sensitive to people's financial battles at the moment. So that's why I said communicating with me is the best way, so I can understand everyone's individual situation. But just for you to understand right now, the overall look of it is that if you're financially battling, you need to communicate with me. And then if you're deciding to take your child out of the school, that there is a protocol put in place or a policy put in place that you have to give me a terms notice, so that I can try and give your child's space away to somebody else. Because I am trusting that we will be able to go back to school this year. And then to those parents that have sent me messages, who have phoned me, who've emailed me of your support, those parents that have even paid before the 1st, I cannot tell you how much it means to me and it means to my staff. I just say thank you so much for your support. It's really appreciated. And and then just to everyone, love you lots. We miss you, and we just can't wait just to get back to normal. Keep safe, and yes, like I said, I'm only a phone call or an email away. So much love. Get those surveys in by Wednesday, please, so we can give you some feedback.